Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Melbourne, Australia. We currently conduct these streams mainly on Wednesday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website at MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hi and welcome to MELfeed.video Transmission 21 for the 4th of July 2018. And we're coming to you live from our motel room in Echuca tonight because we're still in the process of permanently moving to Echuca, which will happen later this month. And soon MELfeed.video will be based in Echuca permanently. So we'll let you know when that happens. But for tonight, we're just visiting. And soon we're going to go into NAT Chat, and that will be followed by Inline Plus and No Rolling, of course, which is episode 3 tonight. And then Harmony University, and then Red Lobster, 15 fabulous minutes. And then the CEC Report has got some interesting news about the Glass-Steagall Act being introduced to Parliament tonight. So you'll get to see the speech in Parliament from, I think it was Bob Catter who introduced the bill tonight. So we'll see that in the CEC Report later tonight. And then another 15-minute episode of Transports of Distant Delight, where we see some scenes and places from different tramway systems around the world. And we also have the Lions Club promotional video, and that'll be after 15 fabulous minutes. So if you want to have a look about the Lions Club, you can learn about it then. Anyway, we'll now head into NAT Chat, and I'll see you a bit later on in the night.
Welcome to NAT Chat. My name is Paul Spanos, and today's topic is the integration of psychology with faith, specifically with Christianity. With us we have Harry Malos, who is a clinical counsellor with a Christian background. Harry, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Good to be here.
Thank you for being part of our program again. It's a very, very interesting topic today. Can we just, for the benefit of the viewers, put the ground what we're talking about psychology generically?
Yes, generically psychology is viewed as the study of the mind, how we behave the way we behave and how we think the way we think.
Okay, and from Christian perspective, when we say people of faith, what do we mean by that?
Christian people have similar understanding that they want to know how they think and what they think and how they are influenced by what they think and feel.
And that means they believe in God and they believe in the Holy Trinity, generically all the Christians.
That's right, right.
Now, in the past, there is a thought there that in the past those two groups, they contradict each other. Why did that happen? What was the thinking behind it?
Yes, in the past, there always was this contrast between psychology and faith, and Christian faith in particular. The contrast was that in psychology we have scientific evidence to suggest and prove the way we think and behave. Yep. The Christian faith's premises is that we don't need to have scientific proof, that our predisposition is governed by God, and God alone is the determines what we think and how we think.
That means the whole behavior was part of the Bible or not considered at all.
That's correct.
Science.
Anything that's out of the Bible doesn't need to be addressed according to old Christian faith.
To the old Christian faith.
Yeah.
Now, what is the change that happens today? Because we're talking about the topic today is about the integration of psychology with Christianity, and what is happening now? How that integration happened?
Well, there is a bridge that we can agree on in both psychology and in Christian faith, that we can use the rich study of psychology and the scientific evidence that doesn't necessarily contradict Christian faith.
Okay.
And by doing that, we have what we call integration.
And is this acceptable from both sides? Begin to accept each other in our days?
Well, a particular school of therapies do,
Okay.
yes. Particular school of therapies have scientific evidence that suggests that having a faith does help us to behave in a normal and positive way.
Okay. Can you elaborate? Which school of psychology will help us to understand more Christian behavior, if you like, or people with faith?
Well, that's a good question. I would say the one that comes to my mind immediately would be the school of therapies known as CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapies.
Okay. And what sort of in what way this school integrates Christianity? What sort of subjects and topics it deals with?
Okay, let me give you the premise for CBT.
Okay. Yeah.
The premise for CBT is that it says that distorted automatic thoughts is what causes us to feel and think in a negative way.
Okay.
Okay, that's their school of thought. That's their headline.
Okay. That means there's some thoughts that are distorted in our minds. And,
Correct.
And that leads us to negative behavior.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, on the Christian perspective, where we integrate, we have the letter of the Apostle Paul to the Romans.
Okay.
In Romans 12, verse 2, that says, "Don't conform to the outside world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind."
Okay.
Now that's the bridge for integration.
Okay.
That it's the way that our mind thinks that we can renew to positive behavior.
That means in that case, Apostle Paul accepts the change of the mind.
The renewing of the mind.
The renewing of
the
the
rethinking
mind.
of the
yes,
mind.
the rethinking of the mind, which in this case psychology studies of.
That's correct.
The thinking of the mind and the process of that change.
Particularly the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
That means CBT is part of the school of thought in psychology. It's not everybody accepts that.
CBT is a one of many therapies that are available, but it's a school of therapies. It's not just one. It's an integrated therapy as well.
Oh, okay. That having that explanation, how psychologists they work with people of faith, or help people of faith, if you like, or in our Western world that we live in, and using that science to explain the behavior.
Well, the integration aspect is that Christian faith welcomes the rich study, the empirical study of science and evidence-based theories that have shown and proven to be effective. It has welcomed that because that's something that has been proven to be right and it works. So we can't shy away from it. And therefore, and on the reverse side, particularly CBT, it accepts the evidence that people of faith have a greater purpose in life, a greater hope in life, and therefore they see that as a positive way of being in order to get people to feel better about themselves.
And that means that yourself as a counsellor, you can use that CBT as a tool, isn't it?
That's correct, yes.
So the way you explain to me, can be used as a tool comfortably to...
The studies of it.
Yes, the studies of it.
The studies of it, what it has proven, the empirical testing and all the groundwork that it's done. Lots of it has been written and researched. The rich research that CBT has done that has been proven.
Thank you, and we're going to continue in a moment after a short break. Please stay with us.
Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motorcar. Enjoy.
Wednesday at 10 p.m. on MELfeed.video.
Tick, 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 fashion.
Tick, 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 fun.
Tick, 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 food.
Tick, 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 festivals.
All make up 15 fabulous minutes.
In a half-hour special.
Presented to you by Jacqueline and Steve.
Every week.
Wednesday at 10 p.m. on MELfeed.video.
Time's up.
Hi, I'm Darren McElwain from AirFM Drive. You can tune into my show from 3 to 6 p.m. on 88.0 in Penrith and also on tunein.com. And apparently, we don't throw rocks. AirFM Drive.
Welcome back. With us, Harry Malus, who is clinical counsellor, and the topic today is the integration of psychology with people with faith. And there is a school of thought, the cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, called that can be used in these cases by the counsellors. Harry, if I can ask you, how CBT can and when CBT can be used with someone with the problems?
Okay, well, that's a good question. The CBT premise is that the greater tragedy in life is not what actually has happened to you, but how you react to what has happened to you. How do you think about what has happened to you? How do you filter that?
Okay. That means if a tragic thing happens or a tragic event or abrupt event or something, my reaction to it is the importance rather more than the event in itself.
Well, you cannot change the event. Is it any way that you can change what happened?
Well, that's a good point.
No, but we can change how that affects us.
Okay.
And move on for the future.
That means the CBT, this is where it comes into it.
That's right.
To my reaction. And okay, and how, for example, if I'm completely distressed for something that has happened, an accident or something, how this tool is going to be used to help me when I'm completely distressed and I cannot accept anything, I'm just in shock.
Yep. Well, first of all, we don't like to, we address our attitude towards what has happened. We don't suggest that we could be mind readers, that the most awful thing is now going to happen. That again is distorted thinking. When we are mindful that the worst is going to happen as a result of what has happened. So we think the worst and feel the worst. We have no evidence of that, but we just think that it's going to be like that.
Okay, that means that does it help me to the behavior that follows the incident?
It doesn't help at all. It doesn't help. In fact, it makes you feel even worse. It's not so much that what has happened to you could be painful and tragic, but the actual experiencing it every day could be even more hurtful.
Exactly, because what I'm saying that an incident or an event or a tragic story can create fears, isn't it?
That's right.
And phobias in me.
That's right. And that's what anxiety is. It's that the worst is going to happen. We start becoming fortune tellers that this is going to happen and that is going to happen.
And then this tool now, the CBT, the school of thought, is that what it helps me to understand my behavior or to help me to improve, to be more positive?
I think it's more to improve, but it understands it as well. When we say, when you think like that, does it help you feel better?
Okay.
So
Right.
obviously they say, no, it makes it worse. Then
When I think like that means negative.
yes.
Because of the event.
Yes.
Okay.
When you think like you know what already is going to happen,
Yes.
do you have any evidence of that?
Yeah.
Are you
Okay.
God? So when they say,
okay.
well, I'm not God, then how do you know this is going to happen? So we actually gently challenge the client to say, well, the way we talk is we talk ourselves that the worst will happen when we don't know the future.
Okay. Now comes the understanding of the thinking process.
That's correct.
That you help me understand using my mind, not to necessarily destroy myself
That's correct.
because of that incident.
Yes,
That-
we have to
yeah.
find ways to rethink what we think.
Okay.
As the Bible verse says,
Okay.
be transformed by renewing of your mind. Find
Okay.
new ways of thinking, because the way we have thought hasn't helped us. It made it even worse, in fact.
That means instead of dwelling to the tragic event, instead of dwelling into the negative circumstances, environment,
Yes,
instead of dwelling into that, is how to move forward from that.
that's correct. That's correct.
Using the mindset.
Using the mindset and not presuming that you know what will happen.
And-
Studies have suggested that when we overgeneralize an irrational pattern, studies suggest that we never ever look back and say, this is what I thought would happen. In fact, what we do say is that what I presume that would happen has not reached its height. It never has. So we over-exaggerate our thinking process, over-exaggerate the situation. We over-generalize the situation. There's a term that we call catastrophizing.
Okay.
Yeah, we catastrophize that this is going to happen and the worst case scenario is going to be, but studies suggest that never happens. Seldom does it happen.
That means the CBT comes and intervenes into that thinking.
Yes, it
And then
challenges those
It
thoughts.
challenges those thoughts.
Yeah.
So it tries to stop my destructive cognitive thinking that comes in my head.
Yes, it is collaborative with the client. We don't presume to just give all the answers. We ask the questions. Has this way of thinking, has this helped you?
Okay.
And obviously they're there in the session because it hasn't helped them. So we're being a little rhetoric, but it's in order to drive the notion that the way that they've been thinking and behaving has not helped the situation at all.
Is it related to, if I can recall, Apostle Paul saying that I always put the past behind me and move forward?
Well, that's a perfect way of looking at it. That is a perfect way of looking at it, because we can't change what has already happened to us. We can't address the past as a means to fixing the future, because what has happened has happened.
Okay.
We can't change that.
Okay.
What we can change is our attitude towards what has happened.
Okay. That means that CBT really is a tool that helps me to understand how my mind can lead me in a completely negative way, or I can use it to reverse the negativeness.
Yes. And also not just our thinking pattern, but our emotions as well. CBT says that that if you think things will be at a worse position, you will actually feel that way as well.
Thank you for bringing the emotions. We will be back just to discuss that.
What I love about Australia is Adelaide Central Market. It's where I grew up, hanging out with Mum and great Auntie Kim. I see a lot of migrants buying ingredients that they need to cook dishes that remind them of their culture. And I think that's why food is such a powerful thing when it comes to people understanding each other. On Australia Day, I'm going to come to the market, buy some beautiful produce, take it home, crank out the pizza oven and have a little pool party with my mates.
Get together on Australia Day. Go to australiaday.org.au to find out how.
Each week, MELfeed.video presents the CEC Report. The Citizens Electoral Council of Australia present a weekly program of political and economic analysis with policy solutions which are aimed at saving Australia from economic collapse and also suggest ways in which interested members of the public can assist in their current campaigns. The CEC Report, every Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. on MELfeed.video.
Go head on into the fast-paced world of roller sports.
Come on, keep up.
So tell us about your skating and your experience.
Inline Plus introduces you to the world of roller sports in all its forms.
We are actually going to catch up with 4 members of the Australian team.
Very pleased to skate because the surface is quite smooth.
So get your skates on.
Inline Plus.
Coming up next on MELfeed.video.
Welcome back to NAT Chat as we continue the discussion with the topic of the integration of psychology with people of faith and specifically Christianity with Harry Muller's clinical counsellor. And we're in the stage of explaining the cognitive behavior therapy. And we did speak about the change of the mind and the renew of the mind. Now, how this process of renewing of mind touches our emotions when we have that, as we spoke, the change of mindset of being negative to turn into positive.
Yeah, well, positive thinking has a consequence on how we feel.
Okay.
Okay, so if I think positively, if I feel and think positively, then my emotional state will be a healthy one.
Now, it's going to be a strange question here, the chicken and the egg, I'm not sure about that. Is that the thinking process that affects the emotions or the emotions that affects the thinking process?
Yeah, well, we can write a thesis on that subject.
Okay.
But the point of the matter is that they both affect each other.
Okay.
But CBT is on the premise that thinking positively makes us feel positively.
Okay.
Okay. It doesn't dismiss emotions.
Okay.
But it has addressed emotions as sometimes, and it calls it emotional reasoning, that we cannot allow our feelings only to interpret reality, because sometimes our feelings can get it wrong.
Actually, we did speak about abnormal events that happen, accidents, for example, in life, that really can cause us a lot of shock in our lives. So that is an emotional state, as well as thinking about the tragic event. And that emotion stays with us, linked to the event.
Yes.
And so that's where the effect is, isn't it?
Yes.
And the thinking you mentioned now, this specific therapy helps my thinking to influence the emotions in this stage?
Yes, because it brings it to reality. If I give you a quick, our emotions... structure of the brain, our emotions are stored in a different area of the brain that cannot analyze, cannot bring the reality of what has happened.
Correct.
But if we positively think about the event, we shifted from the place where it cannot analyze it to the front lobe of the brain that can give us reason, can give us positive thinking.
Okay. So that positive thinking sort of tries to distort the destructive emotion.
The part of the brain that stores an emotion is part of the hippocampus, and we call it the amygdala. The amygdala in psychology is where our emotions are stored, and our emotions don't necessarily cannot be analysed there alone, and we just feel what we feel, but we don't understand why. But when we bring reason to it,
that's right,
we shift it from that part and give it understanding.
That means in this case the science of psychology here uses that reasoning to help me to get out of this
that's right.
Emotional state.
That's exactly right. So if someone comes up and says, I feel depressed, so therefore my marriage is a failure, it's because he's feeling this way, which is causing him to think that way as well. You see? So we cannot always trust our emotions as the interpreter of reality.
That means this specific therapy has analyzed in such a way the change of the mind using reasoning to help other people with faith or people with no faith how to help not to go or end up being in perpetual sort of negative
That's right. That's
and
right.
stick to the negative experience of that. Now, how does faith, if we go from the faith side of things, how does faith integrate with this theory? Does it help, or
yes,
it doesn't?
Of course it does. Because when faith teaches us about hope, teaches us about purpose, teaches us about certain things that enable us to feel good about ourselves.
And at the end of the day, God is love, so it's a positive faith
right.
on this.
It's a positive emotion, and it's a positive thought.
Okay.
So when we think that way, when we have purpose in life,
yes,
we actually feel better.
That's right.
Yeah. We're not downcast. In fact, the Bible tells us a lot about why are you so downcast.
Because in this, I'm not sure if I'm right, but is this related to faith and hope? Because you can see the apostles, we can see the saints, they did not have particularly positive or rich life.
Well,
however,
yep,
their faith and hope and their preaching is full of it.
Yes, we can push it even further and say that their experiences were quite harsh.
Okay. Yes.
Very harsh.
Correct.
Yet
and
they were positive.
Yes.
How do you explain that?
Yes.
Their mind was positive because they had a purpose.
Yes.
The mind was healthy because they weren't thinking negatively. They knew where they were going.
Okay, that means, and in this case, the cognitive behavior therapy accepts that as a positive influence.
Yes, yes. As I said earlier on, that CBT or cognitive behavior therapy is well researched.
Yes,
it has researched, very rich research, and it shows strong evidence that Christian people or people of faith who have purpose and hope actually feel and think better positively.
Okay,
they cannot deny that. That's why CBT doesn't dismiss faith. It sees it as a good tool to thinking and feeling positively.
That means accepts that faith really feeds the thinking process, helping those, helping the behavior to be positive instead of dwelling into the negative experiences.
That's right. It sees Christian faith as a positive filter of thinking.
Okay. It is interesting because this really CBT touches the cause of our negative behavior, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And we dwell in the negative behavior and we're judgment focused. And there's another term in CBT that it uses, that we become the judges of others. And that's not a positive way. Does Christian faith have the same theory in that? Of course it does.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Therefore, actually, there is an integration here, because that's what there was the discussion tonight.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you for being with us, and it was a very, very interesting topic. And thank you, the audience, that you stayed with us. After all, there is no such animosity between psychology and faith. And as it used to be once upon a time, and there's a lot of topics that we can integrate and work together. Thank you for being with us. See you next week, same time.
Live stream from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
Inline Plus brought to you by Bayside Blades, Australia's inline skating specialist.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Inline Plus TV. On today's show, it is unbelievably huge. The Adelaide Roller Derby girls are over here in Melbourne on their way to Derby Camp. They're going to have a So You Think You Can Dance off. Also too, Jenny Logue is down at Paran Skate Park just up the road. She's going to take us to the world of aggressive skating. And also too, Barrelhouse Bessie takes us to Glenelg Beach in Adelaide, skates around that mecca in Adelaide. It's a huge show, lot to get through. Let's get skating.
Howdy, it's Barrelhouse Bessie. We're skating down at Glenelg Beach in Adelaide today, and we've got the one and the only Hutto playing some tunes for everyone, enjoying his day on the beach. What's so great about Glenelg?
Apart from the fact that I was born here, the beaches. The beaches, the people, the sunshine, the palm trees, newly installed palm trees.
The roller skating?
The shops, the roller skating. The roller skating. There's roller skating everywhere. People
Hanging down Glenelg Beach on the rollerblades and skating around, bumping into these likely lads. What's going on, boys?
Oh, we're selling bandanas for canteen research.
Yeah?
And we are Mextex.
Yeah.
We are Mextex.
Oh, you're good lads. Does it feel good on the inside? To,
yeah, it feels great, man.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Don't get beaches like this just in any city in Australia. These are the Glenelg beaches on a near perfect day. It's great for skating. Skating on the beach in Glenelg doesn't get much easier than this. You step off the historic tram. It's a bit upgraded now, but you step off, you roll out, and you're right on the beach. It's a great day to be here in Glenelg. Nice, sunny, and you got a free ride.
We're bros for life, and we're going to stick together forever.
Yeah. Where's the best spot to be selling bandanas?
On the tram.
on the
The
beach.
bus road there's really good. Yeah, not on the tram, because no one buys anything on the trams.
Yeah. And what is cool about hanging out on Glenelg Beach?
No school. No school. Yeah,
It's not all about skating today in Glenelg. We got some pretty mean beach volleyball about to start up behind us. Want to have a look? So we're here on the very famous Glenelg Pier. It's a great place to skate because the surface is quite smooth. It's bitumen and it's nice, great to skate on. As you can see, people are all out here having a nice day in the sun, but we're gonna keep skating. So they're a little biased about some things on the Glenelg Pier. You can't skateboard, but it doesn't say anything about bicycles or roller skates.
What is cool about hanging out at Glenelg?
I think just the atmosphere and sitting just looking over the sea. It's just beautiful.
And all those rollerbladers whizzing by?
Oh, they're excellent to watch.
That's the spirit.
Definitely.
Skating in Glenelg, it's great. You've got these fantastic bitumen paths all up and down the beach. You can get so much practice in on any day of the week because it's never too crowded.
There's always just something to do down here, like whether it's playing beach volleyball or just hanging out with your friends or going to the beach house or cafes.
A lot of people come down here for obviously sports, like beach volleyball. I see a lot of people rollerblading around here, skateboarding as well is pretty common. And yeah, really nice hangout.
So there you have it, the underdog of Australia when it comes to capital cities. Adelaide has a little gym like this, a beach that's perfect for all sports on wheels, perfect waters, great sunshine, and you can come down here anytime you want on the tram that runs straight here from the city. Thanks for watching us on Inline Plus, and we'll catch you next week.
Inline Plus TV with Barrelhouse Bessie and me. We like to go roller skating when it's sunny by the sea.
And now we're all going to take our skates off, head back to the nunnery and have a bit of a dance off.
Inline Plus brought to you by Bayside Blades, Australia's inline skating specialist.
Hi, I'm Lane Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets, and they'll be turned into new products from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetarc.org.
The new website for Inline Plus TV is natsport.tv/Inline Plus.
What? Is it on, Scooby? What?
Bessie, and we are here at the Melbourne Museum, downtown Melbourne, at 10 o'clock at night having a social skate with girls from Brisbane, Adelaide, Sydney and Melbourne all together for the name of roller derby. It's a sight to see here tonight in Victoria. So, thanks for having us, Victoria. Yeah! Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Conversation going for a couple of months. We don't know what each other look like, and this is our first meeting, and this woman rocks. I love her, and I've never met her before, but
and this is the funniest roller girl on the forum, man, with the craziest stories.
They're all true, that's what's true.
And then you put up your experience of roller skating, we're all like inadequate.
No, my God, no.
It's awesome because
no
we
visuals.
didn't know, we didn't know what each other looked like, and
Purely
we talk on the forum. Yeah. So you're going to bond with someone, not knowing their identity.
Months, and daily. Like, I speak to Dole more than my husband. Serious.
I think I speak to you more than my husband. It's so good seeing so many girls together on skates.
Look at them. Powerful, beautiful women.
Yeah, I struggle with the fear. Feel the city through the hole in my shoes.
Now we're all going to take our skates off, head back to the nunnery and have a bit of a dance off, but that's for us to know and you to think about.
Hey, now the cup's over, are there any tips for the dance-off?
Tips or tits?
Yeah, Vader and me, we're dancing, can't you see? on Inline Plus TV. Woohoo! Yeah, we're skating, her and me. Wow, you sure have got the moves going.
It's all about the blocking. Don't touch what you can't afford. Welcome back to the show. My name's Jenny and we're here at Prahran Skate Park. So we're going to go see what's going on around the park, talk to a few of the guys down here and see what they're up to. Hey Tom, how's it going?
Bad.
Alright, so what's good about Prahran Skate Park?
There's a lot of range, pretty much, and if you want to skate something, it's always there to skate. You can skate vert or mini.
So is this quite a variety of stuff to do here, like quite a varied skate park?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. That's why I like it.
And you come down here regularly?
Yeah, it's my local park, so.
All right, cool. Well, let's have a look, see what you got. You better land it. I'm here down at the skate park with Tom's dad. He's come down to check out what's going on. What do you think of the whole skate park thing for your son?
I think it's great. I've been coming for 3 years, and he's he's grown through the experience. He's made some great friends, and it's good wild play.
So it's a safe place for kids to come, and you'd recommend parents letting their kids come down to the skate park?
Yeah, I'd call it what you call dangerous safe. It looks worse than it is.
Excellent.
And they get a lot out of it.
So nice to see a good supportive parent getting into the skating. So let's go see what the other guys are up to. What advice would you give to some kids that maybe haven't been to the skate park before but want to come and have a go?
Basically just come down. Everyone's really positive and about having a good time. It's all about just having fun. Basically that's the main thing. So don't feel intimidated by anyone, because everyone here is really welcoming people. So
cool.
I'd just ask them to come on down and just have a good time.
And what's the best thing about skating?
Landing a trick. Nothing like it, really.
Just feels good?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what are you working on at the moment?
I'm working more on true topsoils.
Okay, what does that look like? Can you show us one?
On the ledge?
Yeah, on the ledge. And there we have it, first try, true topsoil. So there we have it, that's True Topsoil by Tom, first try. How does this skate park compare to other skate parks? Like, is this one of the best ones in Melbourne?
I would say, I'd say it's probably one of the best ones, in my opinion. I don't know, it's just really small, really compact. Everything's sort of, everyone can have a go at it, so...
Yeah. Cool, and is it quite central so everyone can get here?
Yeah, Prahran's a real central place, like close to the city. Public transport's really easy, you got the 75 tram just over by the side.
So what's the environment like down here at the skate park? I mean, there's different sort of aged guys around. How does that all work out?
Well, I think what happens is that you get young kids and kids a couple of years older, they get good role models. Some of the older kids, as they step through, have become mentors.
Yeah.
Tom's had a bit of one-to-one on people like Shane Yost, who's a world number 2 or 3.
So he sort of passes on stuff like how to fall safely,
absolutely.
How to use a skate park.
And you learn by watching, and you learn by kids giving him recommendations of different techniques. Try this, try that.
Go over the other side of the skate park and catch some more guys in action. So come on, keep up. You better run. Okay. Got it? You still with me? All right, Paul, come over. Get to know about this whole skate thing going on in Melbourne.
Just through meeting people and just through the skate shop and just having a look on different websites and that sort of thing.
So did you, is this your first time on Thursday night, or do you come here all the time?
I've been here a couple of Thursdays now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a good regular Thursday night.
And how does this skate park compare to ones you've skated over in WA?
It seems to be much more geared for bladers, so...
Yeah. And so there's quite a wide range of stuff to do?
Yeah, for all levels. Like you've got your beginners and pros.
This is a mini ramp behind us, so we'll let Paul get going and have a skate on that, and we'll check out what he's doing.
All right.
That was it. Thursday night skating here in inner city Paran at the Paran Skate Park. So yeah, come down and we'll see you down here for a skate.
Okay, well that was Ep 3 and it was pretty good. Next week, Jo Gilbert, she's 72 years young and she's going to unload some wisdom on us. The roller derby girls go to derby camp and things get even more funky. And we check out the Torrens River in Adelaide. There's a heap more after that. Enjoy your skating. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye for now.
Inline Plus TV with Barrel House, monkeys and you're loving your roller skating when it's sunny by the sea. Thanks, guys.
My name is Shane Yost. I've been skating for around about 14 years. I'm originally from Tasmania, but I live here in Melbourne now.
I'm just sitting here on this stool at the bar.
In the old days, I grew up in Launceston in Tasmania, notorious for all its hills and the crazy hilly environment that surrounds sort of the main town. So I pretty much lived at the top. So every time we went for a skate, it was hill bombing all the way down to go to the skate park, and then a trudge all the way back up again to go home. It was a cool place to grow up in, even though there wasn't much to skate. When I was there, I mean, we had an 8-foot cement vert ramp that was like 12 foot wide. One of our favourite pastimes was jumping in the car at 3 o'clock in the morning and going to the highest hills we could find and just bombing all the way down, and then getting another car, skitching it the way back up top again, and then doing it again and seeing how fast we could go and seeing if we could find a steeper hill than we just rode. So yeah, those were the days growing up in Tasmania.
Inline Plus brought to you by Bayside Blades, Australia's inline skating specialist.
You're there when they can't sleep. You're there when they forget. But who's there when they're at school? Asthma can be serious. It affects 1 in 10 Australians and claims 400 lives each year. Does anyone at your school know what to do in an asthma emergency? Log on to asthmafriendlyschools.org.au and find out if your school is asthma friendly. Shouldn't every school be asthma friendly?
I always, just my passion was going upside down several hundreds of feet in the air, well, like I'd like to believe, and yeah, so vert for me, it was just a natural thing. That's why I sort of moved away from skating everything and just focused on one thing, so I could see how far I could take it, and it was just what I enjoyed the most. first started travelling, there was a lot of Australians around. There was a lot of guys. I mean, 6 places of the top 10 in street or vert was taken up by Australians, which is just, I mean, that's just a phenomenal concept. But I mean, there was a lot of money in those days. You know, there was a lot of things going on. There was a lot more contests. There was a lot of things just happening. So there was a lot more opportunities. So, you know, there was a lot of chances for kids to get sponsored and go overseas. Nowadays, it's very difficult for kids to go over and qualify. Everything is based around turning pro through the ASA, you know, through the ASA ranks before you get any opportunities to be able to take it further. So for any aspiring kid or any guys that, you know, want to go to the next level, it's a very hard task because you've got to fund your airfares, accommodation, everything. Get yourself to America without the guarantee of actually turning pro in the first place. At the moment, it's very difficult because there's just not the money there. There's not the backing. So it's a tough time.
Getting kicked out of here, now I'm drowning in whiskey and beer.
These days, being a pro it's very different from the ideal that people seem to believe that a pro should be. Kids these days have these crazy notions of pros sitting around, smoking drugs, drinking alcohol, going to parties and just being rock stars. But honestly, if you want that kind of lifestyle, go and become a musician, because that's the only real place that you're going to be able to carry on like that. Our sport isn't strong enough and big enough anymore to be able to support that kind of craziness. And in some ways, that kind of attitude is what's led to our downfall. I've seen so many guys with so much crazy talent, like Jaron Grove and John Bergeron, that, you know, where are they today? They lasted all of, you know, 2 or 3 years where they just went nuts. And I mean, you can do it for a while, but in the end, it was the lifestyle that killed them. I'm still up there doing what I'm doing. You know, I'm one of the last ones left, one of the last professionals left in Australia that's still getting paid to ride, still getting paid to travel, still doing shows, still doing all these things. And it's because I've taken it seriously and because I've treated it as a business, and that's where you can go. I'm 28, I've been doing this for 14 years now. My job is a professional rollerblader, and it's because I've taken it seriously, and that's what you have to do. If that's the kind of job you want, that's the kind of career, that's what you need to do.
You said you were sorry in whiskey and beer.
You know, from my opinion, man, it's been an amazing journey. I've been able to do what I love as a professional. And I mean, I came from a little place in Launceston, Tasmania, in the middle of nowhere. And it's just because, you know, I liked it that much that I wanted to keep doing it and take it as far as I can. And it doesn't matter what you do or where you want to go, whatever profession it is, if you truly love it, just do it. Who cares? Like, stuff what anyone thinks about it. Just keep doing it, have fun with it, and see how far it can take you.
This ain't no wow no more. This ain't no wow no more. You're gonna have to step over my dead body before you walk out that door. Show me with your magic, landed looking tragic.
Inline Plus was brought to you by Bayside Blades, Australia's inline skating specialist. Inline Plus was brought to you by Bayside Blades, Australia's inline skating specialist.
Now it's time for a quick reminder of programs coming up tonight on MELfeed.video, so please stay with us.
Welcome to Harmony and Diversity. Norm Curry is my name, and today we're speaking with Louise Lang. She's the Coordinator for Homeless Support Services for Anglicare. Thanks for coming in, Louise.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
The first thing I'd like to explore with you is your faith background.
Okay.
You're an Anglican, are you?
I am now, yes.
You are now?
Yes.
How come?
I married one, pretty much. Prior to that, I'd been brought up in the Presbyterian Church. And, yes, I met Andrew and things moved on from there, I guess. Yes. Yeah.
Did you have a church education at school?
No, just a regular kid at a regular school. Yeah.
And Andrew himself, he's got some connection with the Anglican church.
Yeah, he does now. He's been ordained now for about 14 or 15 years.
Okay.
But I have to say, when we first married, I did say to him that I didn't particularly want to be a minister's wife, so he wasn't allowed to be a minister at all because I didn't think I fit the role of the wife. But I guess over time you can be persuaded into things. Yes. So, yeah.
That's interesting. So what's, you say, a minister's wife, what's it feel like? What's a minister's wife like?
Well, I think I've discovered that it's more important about being yourself and being genuine to who you really are rather than fitting into a role. And I guess when I was a very young person, my idea of a clergy wife was twin set and pearls and making lots of cups of tea. And, you know, being a tomboy, that really didn't fit with me. So over time I've observed different people in that sort of role and see that those who seem successful in that, you know, are just being true to being who they are. So once I got over that and grew up a bit, probably, I was okay with the idea.
In your early life too, with your husband, there was an African sojourn in there.
There was. We probably had been married a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and had one child, and decided to explore what it was like to study overseas. So we studied at what was still known as the Christian Service College in Kumasi in Ghana, which is part of West Africa.
And what was that experience like?
Very forming. In my early 20s with a child, to leave home, to leave the familiar and to leave family and to go to the other side of the world and try and live, caused us both to be quite more dependent on each other and also very much on our relationship with God, because that was all we had as support. This lifestyle to learn to live in the country, to pick up the things of the culture, was a very formative time for us both. Yeah,
I could imagine so. And you've alluded to the fact that your faith was something which was that you had some foundation on. What did that look like? Where did your faith come into it?
I guess in the third world, we were students, but we didn't have a lot of money. We had to get by on what we had. We were sometimes dependent on others giving us some financial support. There wasn't perhaps an infrastructure of life like we would know here. You know, and just normal things like eating normal food, and the medical service was under strain constantly. So you got to know about the nitty-gritty and the reality of living a life that wasn't dependent on, you know, government infrastructure and all sorts of things like that. So it became quite an interesting time for us. You know, as we were travelling over there, we found out our second child was on the way. So Esther was born in a local hospital there, and that was a different experience, having a child in that situation. And there was a certain amount of dependency on God that process would go well as well. So yeah, you learnt to, and we had issues with visas and passports and stuff, and we just really had to hand it over because we had no control over knowing what the outcome might be. So
I'd like to later explore how much influence that had about your choices of what you're doing at Anglicare, because there seems to be some sort of connection there.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of major lesson that came out of Africa, something which sort of sits up there in gold plate?
Can't think of a specific one, but I guess it just gave us a different way of looking at the world, really, and to appreciate that my white middle-class thinking isn't always the right way to look at things, that there are other ways of looking at the world, and it's just how you perceive things, and how that's not always. So another way can be not wrong, but different. And to appreciate that about other people.
Yes. And you got back to Australia, and what did you do then?
Well, we were fairly financially, well, there was nothing in the bank account, yes. So we both pursued work at that stage. And as I mentioned to you before, I got my first job at 25 as a checkout chick in a car park, and things have continued on from there. Yeah. Yes. And having a young family and for them to get to know the extended family was always a busy time.
And so then did you stay at home as a mother, or did you do other things?
Oh, well, like I say, checkout chick in a car park for a day and a half a week was my little bit of getting out of the house and being out in the world a bit. But I didn't really return back to more serious work until after our third child was born sometime later.
When was that? What year was that?
He was born in 97. I think I started working about 2000.
All right. Well, we'll come back to 2000 because it's time for a break.
Okay.
We'll take a break now and we'll be back soon.
Here is some brilliant news for adults who have difficulties with spelling, reading a newspaper or phone bill, or writing letters and emails. It can be easier to improve your reading and writing skills than to keep putting it off. Take the plunge. Call the Reading Writing Hotline, 1300 655 06.
1300 655 06.
It could change your life.
Had enough of the bad news about carbon dioxide and climate change? Wood is one solution. Trees take CO2 from the air and store it in their wood. They're also renewable, unlike concrete and steel. But the wood you choose should be recycled or from certified plantations or forests. This helps protect areas of high conservation value. So next time you're building or buying something, make it wood and do your world some good.
Welcome back to Harmony and Diversity. Norm Curry is my name, and we're continuing to speak with Louise Lang, who's the coordinator for the Homeless Support Services for Anglicare Victoria. And we got to the point, Louise, where it's the year 2000 and you've decided that you're going to go back into the workforce in some way. What did you do?
My job, I was actually approached to do the position, which was a pleasant surprise, but I was a mission support worker. And at the time in the Diocese of Tasmania, there were two main Anglican mission agencies that were supported, being ABM, the Australian Anglican Board of Mission, and CMS, Church Missionary Society. And my role was to travel through the north of the state promoting those mission agencies as well as other Anglican mission. And that was a 20-hour-a-week position. I had a 3-year-old, so it was sort of a bit of balance, but we did that, and I thoroughly enjoyed getting out and about, meeting people.
And so when you say promoting, what that entail?
I guess letting people know about what the agencies are doing and what they're up to, how people can support them through, finances, prayer, and anything else on the spectrum in between. Just getting the knowledge out of what the work's about, and and sometimes working with workers from those organisations to get the promotion happening.
Yes, and at that time, what was your husband doing?
Yes, he was ordained and working in a local parish.
Oh, right. So he was a parish minister.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so you've worked in well, you didn't work in Africa, but you lived in Africa, and then you lived and worked in Tasmania. And did you come back to Victoria?
From Ghana, we went back to Tasmania.
Yes.
Andrew became, after a couple of years, a candidate for ordination. So he then had to do some more studies. So he lived in Morpeth in New South Wales for 2 years. Then went back to Tasmania for his ordination. And then we were in parish ministry after that there for a while.
Can you draw any distinctions between, obviously, New South Wales, Tasmania and Victoria in relation to religion, the way it's approached, the Anglican approach to things?
I guess the Anglican Church is a fairly broad church, so there's quite a spectrum of how people worship and their theology, and so Tasmania is probably fairly, well, it was at the time fairly middle of the road, not too extreme. To go to Morpeth, which is a part of the Newcastle diocese, they're probably more Catholic in their approach to things in the church. Not that they're not evangelical, but their style. And then again, Melbourne's, now that we're here in Melbourne, that's a bit, I would think, a bit more middle of the road with a lot of variety of worship, so people can choose how they want to do that. And I kind of like being in a place like that where there's a lot of choice.
Yes. You're not rigidly nailed down to one thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So you're in Tasmania and you're doing all this liaison type work. What happened then? Well, that lasted for 2.5 years, and the contract finished, and just as that was happening, the local school had a chaplain who was deciding that he needed to resign from that position and do less travelling, and I was approached at the time to consider taking on the role as a school chaplain, which I had a bit of kicking and screaming over, but I think God has a better sense of humour than mine, and in no time at all I was a school chaplain at the local school, which then extended to a second school, both country schools with not easy populations of young people, not large schools either, but I really enjoyed the work. I also did some teachers' aid work, which became quite complementary in the role as chaplain, so I ended up working full-time between two schools. How did you find being a chaplain? Because that was back, chaplains weren't all that common then.
No, and where we were particularly, we were an initiative of the local Uniting Church. We weren't part of the system that there was in Tasmania. But there'd been a chaplain prior who'd been very good, and it's an understanding of chaplains in the sense of you're not there as an evangelist, but you're there as a representative, and to work alongside people. And again, because I happened to be the local minister's wife, people were very polite and respectful. But that kept their distance, and it took time to build a relationship with people. And like I say, working alongside the children, being a teacher's aide was a great way to work alongside and see what we could do. I worked with a social worker and counsellors as well at the school, and just did what I could to be helpful and to build relationship.
You mentioned that there was a presence, you just needed to be a representative. A representative of what?
Well, I don't think I'm quite a representative of God, but it's about just reminding people that God's there. And so if someone wanted to talk to you about God, that's fine, but I wasn't going to go in and Bible bash. It's about letting people approach and come to you with those personal matters or whatever they feel they need to talk about.
Giving them the option.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Yes. And did you find that more chose the option of the...
Over time, when they got to see that I was a real person, and like I say, you know, you have the hat of being maybe the God person in the room, so people are careful about what they say and how they say it and all that sort of thing. And it's nice when after a while those barriers are let down and people are being real and they see me as a real person as well.
So with the children, what was the age group for those schools?
At the school, the closest school was from kindergarten through to year 10.
Yeah.
Actually, both schools were that age range. Yeah.
If you were to draw a graph of the intensity of attendance at your office as the chaplain from the base grade to
I didn't have an office. I was always out and about.
Well, in your out and about space, where was the greatest group? Was it at the top end with the 10 years old, or
no? It probably
or?
would have been more the primary schools where I probably had most involvement. And I guess sometimes there's a certain amount of suspicion with some staff about what you're there to do.
Yes.
So it was always just about working alongside people and being helpful and seeing that, I guess sometimes it's just about seeing that a Christian can be quite normal and not wanting to convert people every 5 minutes or something like that.
Yes, thanks for that, Louise. That gives an insight, as you say, into how to present a faith in a particular way. We're out of time for this sector, so we will go to a break. We'll be back shortly.
Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Daddy's gonna sing you a lullaby. When you're sleeping safe and sound, you've got the proudest dad in town. I remember when I first saw you, your heart beating as you grew. We'll read you stories to help you dream. Your mommy and I are a perfect team. I can't wait to hear you sing or watch as you put on a wedding ring. One day you'll have children too. Remember the times I sang to you.
This bank is helping to save lives. Every year, 500,000 Victorians have no idea where their next meal is coming from. Food Bank Victoria works with farmers, supermarkets and manufacturers to make sure their surplus stock ends up here to be distributed to those in need. But all of this is not enough. Right now, this bank needs interest, your interest, to support Victorians in need. If you can help, visit foodbankvictoria.org.au.
Here are the current weather readings for Melbourne, Geelong, Ballarat, Shepparton, Bendigo and Echuca on the MELfeed video weather wall. It also includes tomorrow's forecast and expected minimum temperatures in these areas overnight. This is the MELfeed video weather wall on a different sort of TV. MELfeed Video.
Welcome back to Harmony University. Norm Curry is my name, and today we're speaking with Louise Lang, Coordinator, Homeless Support Services, the Anglicare Victoria. And Louise has detailed some rather interesting aspects of her life, and we're in Tasmania at the moment, and we're just about to leave. Where did we go to, Louise?
We moved to Horsham, and if I may tell a funny story, because my husband's, I'm sure he's got some Scottish heritage, but we left Horsham on the day of our 20th wedding anniversary because he was busy telling everybody that he was taking me on an overseas cruise for our anniversary. And I'm just doing that to get him back, really. Yeah, we went to Horsham. He became the rector of the parish there, and we had 3¼ years living in Horsham.
Mm-hmm. And a nice place. And what did you do there?
It is. It took me a little while to get some work, but I eventually got a position working at an organisation called the Christian Emergency Food Centre as one of their first support workers. It's a place where there's about 70 volunteers, and they do emergency relief food type work, and service 5 shires around the Horsham area, so right out to the South Australian border, around up to Warwick-Nabil and around. So it's quite a substantial area that's covered. Food parcels are sent out on request from social workers and people like that.
That's it's always intriguing, these food parcels and families in need like that, and there were 70 support workers.
The volunteers would come in on a basis, like we had some reception volunteers, those who interviewed clients and those who worked out the back in the food room.
What would be the typical profile of someone who would be asking for food parcels in that particular area?
Often people were residents of Horsham, probably on benefits. Most living in the poorer part of town, and just struggling welfare people. In the time we were there, it was part of the drought.
Yes, okay.
And we received a lot of donations from here from Melbourne and from Ballarat. And we had an arrangement with the local Centrelink when the payments came in, the hardship, can't remember the right term, payments came in, we would have a part of a food parcel down at the Centrelink office for a farmer's family to receive in that time. And then we did a post drop also to let farming communities know that help was available, because it had been given to us for those drought affected families. And I had the task of often interviewing a farming family if they came to us, and to try and treat them gently and respectfully with some dignity when they came in. And that was an interesting time, because a lot of people had money tied up in assets but they had no income, and a lot of families really struggled in that time.
So a drought, you could see the drought actually having an effect.
Oh, absolutely. I remember I had one mother who used to ring up asking for assistance, and her husband was too proud to receive that assistance. And she would often get her sister to get the parcel. The sister would then take it to the home and put it in the pantry. And even then the husband would say, "Oh, you don't normally buy that, Brown. Why have we got that in the cupboard?" And apparently the mother-in-law one day had given them some food, and he was very upset about that. So it took a lot for some of those people to receive assistance, and you've got to really appreciate some of that difficulty they had.
Is there sort of counselling support for that type of scenario?
There was a lot of other agencies were working towards that sort of stuff, the local Uniting Care, and certainly the councils in the area were working to very much to provide support. It was a full-on time for some of these people.
Yes, it sounds like the organisation made a considerable contribution there. Then you moved on.
I did. We came to Melbourne. That was at the end 2007. We came down to Melbourne, and I applied for a couple of jobs. I worked with the YMCA for a little while, and then I started working with Anglicare Victoria.
And the YWCA, what did that involve?
I worked in their community development camping area and just did some admin work for 3 months, and then the job came up with Anglicare that I really preferred doing.
That was the one you preferred.
Yes.
But the YWCA, was that involved young people, though, did it?
With the camping, it was just sort of getting kids signed up to different camps. They run an awful lot of camps, and it was just constant admin work related with that.
Yes. So Anglicare Victoria, what drew your attention to that? Why did you want to do that?
Part of the place where I went to, which was a Dixon House in Clayton, which is a sort of a neighbourhood house sort of setup, yes, had emergency relief work there, and I guess that drew my interest and was one of my passions. So I applied for that position and got it, and worked there for about 3 years.
Okay, so but Anglicare Victoria, is that, what's it look like? Is it still a religious organisation, or it's?
Anglicare was set up in Anglicare Victoria, sorry, was set up in 1997. It was a combination of 3 agencies coming together, and it was actually set up by an Act of Parliament. So I believe, and I'm not sure if I'm totally correct, but it has an independence from the Anglican Church, but still reports to and links strongly with the Church. And the part of Anglicare I work in is a portfolio called Parish Partnerships and Community Development. So from its name, we work closely with some of the local different Anglican churches.
Does your husband become involved in that, or what's he doing now?
No, he's sort of just running the parish back home where he is.
Right.
We don't have a partnership with that particular parish as Anglicare.
So with you doing this and your husband back in his parish, what's it like being the wife of a parish minister?
Fine, yeah. No, I'm quite used to it now. I don't have the problem I had in the past. Yeah, he's supportive of my work, and I guess I'm supportive of his work, so we work well together like that.
And where are the places where you actually share space? What places do you go as the minister's wife?
Oh, just local things in the community where I live in Moorbark, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because you've got these other 2 are quite separate pathways.
Yeah, well, my Anglicare work's based in East Melbourne and Fitzroy, so we're quite geographically separate. Yeah.
Anglicare is going to be the subject of my next interview with you, if you're willing to do so.
Okay, that'd be good.
Thank you very much, Louise. Thank you very much, and we'll be seeing you next week.
Shanti Om Allahu
Imagine not seeing the world you live in. Macular disease is Australia's leading cause of blindness. Donate now to Macular Disease Foundation Australia. Call 1800 111 709 or visit mdfoundation.com.au.
If you choose to text while driving,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's, your family's, or your own.
Choose not to instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Live streamed from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
dense centre of this teeming street is someone who has forgotten something. She's frantically checking her bags, repeatedly patting her pockets, but it's not there. How can it not be there? She's always so careful. She must have left it. Where? And they'll be so angry. And all the time she's being propelled relentlessly forward by all these foreign bodies in a direction she wasn't intending, into somewhere unfamiliar. She'll have to retrace her steps, if she can. In her mind, she goes over all the places she's been today. She goes round and round. It's hopeless. It could be anywhere. She goes through the motions of searching again, but she knows with a terrible vertiginous certainty that it's gone forever. There's no doubt she's lost it, it's gone. Thanks.
I was recently on holiday in Sardinia in Italy, and I was touring around the island on motorbike with some beautiful German backpackers and rounded a corner into a equally beautiful Mediterranean cove and indulged myself in a moment of egotistical self-congratulation. I now consider such moments to be foreboding of things to come, because there is a special sea-dwelling species of very sharp animal in Sardinia, which probably has a genus and a species name, but I don't know what it is, so I refer to them as spiky little black things. This is called spiky little black things at the bottom of the sea. There's spiky little black things at the bottom of the sea, I discovered quite abruptly when one injured me. Just when life was as idyllic as life could ever be, I felt a spiky little black thing at the bottom of the sea. The shoreline stretched forever, the waves were rolling in. The only question was upon which rocky outcrop I'd begin. I stretched into the water and was feeling like a swim, but when I stood upon the ocean floor, how quick the pain set in. They're like underwater porcupines without a head or tail, black pom-poms in the ocean, yet each strand is a nail. But not a single blissful swimmer caught my silent wail, nor did they quite believe it when I later told the tale. I lifted up my stinging foot, the damage to survey. There were a dozen black spears that I pulled out straight away. Others I stood gouging at, while the ocean did me sway, careful not to hop into another spiky black thing's way. But many spikes remained there, this much did I know. But still I wandered round for days, hoping that they'd go. But when I gazed upon my heel, many black spots it did show. Soon I'd have to get them out, still more pain would I know. One night I sat there gouging out the black specks from my soul, with nothing but a needle sharp with which to bore a hole, cast ironically in both the doctor and the patient's role, and once again I walked upon a clean but butchered soul. So when your shoreline goes forever, far as the eye can see, and life seems as idyllic as life could ever be, remember this small lesson that once was sent to me. There's spiky little black things at the bottom of the sea.
Jasmine. If you walk straight up to it and sniff, you'll get nothing. You have to wait for the wind to change, breathing the sweet, enveloping scent in your direction. I thought it was a Sydney thing, but this spring in Melbourne, the jasmine is everywhere. Hanging heavy on every fence, millions of innocent little white flowers exhaling great braces of sexy scent, ambushing me at every street corner. Nothing more intoxicating, except this thing between us, springing abruptly into abundant, extravagant life while I wasn't looking. Thanks.
The voice. He shuffles in last, late, silent as a mouse and as grey. Grey skin in a grey coat, wrapped against the cold sandwich-like, but as stale and inedible as 4-day-old bread which has been left in the rain and has dried on the street. His hair holds more grease than the local hamburger joint. He'd love a joint or any kind of stimulant. Even coffee would go down wet and purge the file that rasped his throat every time he comes here, every time he tries to read. He sits in the corner, barely seen, never heard, a darkness in the room, shadow merging with shadow. It's the same every night. He sits and says nothing, although the air is tense with his listening. Papers rustle, coughs call for silence, and the poets read. Scraps of paper dance in the nervous breeze as he claims them for his own. A pencil stub, much licked, appears, and in an imitation of a spider, it scrabbles across the page. His tongue protrudes a little, pink against the grey, where the dirt can't reach, as he listens, writes and releases the emotion, too long pent up, too long held back for fear of failure, of rejection and scorn. The file in his throat becomes a plug that stops breath and stops life. He gasps once, quiet in the room, but loud enough to be heard in the unfortunate break of word flow. Then he topples to the floor. A half-finished poem flushes away. As sirens fade in the distance, all the scattered fragments are collected, smoothed out, ordered and read. The crowd stops. Streetwalkers are drawn in. Shoppers, caught up in the bustle of life, pause and listen, then move on, enlightened, refreshed, renewed. The music of the street is hushed, and the stars shine brighter as the poems are found and read. The poet's voice is released, never to be silenced again.
Now on MELfeed Video, here are the latest Wednesday TATS Lotto results just drawn a short time ago under government supervision. All results shown are subject to confirmation. We hope that these numbers brought you a little bit of luck tonight. If not, there's always next week. Stay tuned to MELfeed Video for more great programs this evening.
Every new line means 2 more hands. Join us, lions.org.au.
Alright, I promised some people necrophilia tonight, so here it goes. The necrophiles. The necrophiles have gathered at their temple again to celebrate who they are, to revel in being different. They know they're misunderstood and even misrepresented, and they won't understand until they try it, is often said at every meeting. The necrophiles, they range from young to old, from novice to world-weary and experienced, some pioneers in the field, and some young ones arrogant enough to think they're doing something new and interesting. One thing's for sure, though. One thing's for sure. They love necrophilia, and they refuse to give it up. They can't. It's who they are. Like a left arm is a left arm, or a crocodile is no alligator. Warm handshakes are exchanged amongst the necrophiles. Even though their hands are so delicate and so needed, warm smiles, friendly words, everyone's here because this is what they live for. The ceremony begins and fresh corpses are revealed, though some prefer the musty or runny ones, and whilst all stay civil and hostility is frowned upon, those fucking weirdos are talked about and mocked behind their backs. The ceremony begins. They have a master who runs things. Some go through the motions with their corpses. Some try to show off their latest moves, and the young ones make a right royal mess with gizmos and blindfolds and even dildos and extra limbs they brought from home. The older ones are baffled, annoyed, and mostly tuna because they just don't get it, man. That makes the young ones feel triumphant and even more determined to try something much more bizarre next week. The corpses themselves range from pretty to plain to ugly, but really they're all just corpses, except the sloppy ones the weirdos prefer, which may not even be human. But as long as under this roof, it's tolerated and somewhat encouraged. The necrophiles, as per usual, discuss how the world needs to change and accept them, not only as people, but as better people. How necrophilia is not restricted to race, creed, class, or colour. It's therefore an all-levelling, equalising, proto-democratic expression of freedom, of choice and life. They discuss, yet again, how necrophilia is so amazingly different, so stimulating and enriching to mind and body. So completely unique, so didactic and all-encompassing, and how it leads one to pursue a richer life through understanding and loving death and decay. Finding life and love in the absence of life, finding life and love in the absence thereof provides life skills beyond these walls, provides a way of seeing and dealing with this cruel, cruel world. If only the masses would. If only the masses would. If only. Whether the necrophiles deep down in their bellies or in their hearts or in their brains or in their consciousness know that they're merely corpse fuckers and nothing more, I don't know. I suspect most do, but they choose to ignore the reality in favour of the more noble explanations. It's pathetic, yes, but as Alfred Jarry argued, at least the victims are dead. So the night carries on with more positions and displays, with tips on technique or on performance, with the introduction of the special guest who acknowledges those who have loved the dead before him and reminds them of how normal they really are and lets them dream with eyes open with nostalgia for a never-existed golden age gone by. Yes, the golden age where necrophilia was respectable, where practitioners admired, worshipped and venerated. These days, necrophilia has been replaced by simple rape, which is neither fun nor expressive as communion with the dead. It's cheap and tacky. It's lowest common denominator, but it sells and it's bored and it's here to stay until someone invents the IQ injection, which the necrophiles won't and can't do, but at least they've thought of it, talk about it, and hope for its existence. There aren't many of them in this temple, but there are temples all over town, all of them obscure to the everyman, and with some necrophiles visiting several every week. It's a need, and as such it must be fed, or the soul will shrivel and die. Then the night is over, and the necrophiles say goodbye for another week. They shake hands, they promise to be back, they arrange to meet each other and so on, finish beers and leave. They stumble out the doors and into the world feeling warm and happy as they step into the crowd of zombies that fill the streets. Zombies shuffling to and fro, banging into walls and each other, so numerous it's almost impossible to get to one's car. But this is their planet. It always has been. But the necrophiles remember that corpse fuckers they may be, at least they ain't no zombie. The necrophiles remember, corpse fuckers they may be, at least they ain't no zombie. The necrophiles remember, corpse fuckers they may be, at least they ain't no zombie. No, they ain't one of them. then maybe at least they ain't no zombie. Then the necrophiles remember corpse fuckers they may be, at least they ain't no zombie. No, they ain't one of them. Everything you ever wanted to know about the universe, don't be afraid to ask me. Okay. What is the poetry of plutonium? What is the poetry of plutonium? What would it say in a speech in public? What romantic notions does it inspire? Why no monuments to celebrate its importance every day? What would Santa bring plutonium for Christmas? Would it dance slow or fast? Can it live without us? Will it go forth into space and find itself a new home? Why has it brought us no fucking joy yet? After all, we've done so much for it. Why so much if we can't even eat a gram? Why so much if neither you or I can actually fuck it? Well, the good news is that plutonium has never joined the cult, never wore a Nazi armband, never listened to gangster rap or killed Charlie Manson, but a bad motherfucker it is and no one wants it in their house. So we ask you now, redeem yourself, plutonium. We ask you now, show us why we should keep you around. Show us your good side. Show us your songs. And I ask you again, you useless twat, what is the poetry of plutonium? Just what the fuck is it? Because I bet it won't be about love, or even knock-knock jokes, or snapshots from a Mexican holiday, or images from a favourite porn site, or soft words about the meeting of lips, or a collaging of found images, or a blessing of cursing, or cursing of any god. I bet plutonium has nothing to say. Nothing to contribute, and no relevance to 10,000 years of history. Redeem yourself, plutonium. Redeem yourself by doing us a favour. Fuck off and take your fucking retarded broke new friends with you!
Classifications let you know about the content of movies and computer games, so you can make informed choices. G tells you the content is suitable for general viewing and playing. PG means parental guidance is recommended, and the content may not be suitable for younger children. M says it's recommended for mature audiences over 15. MA 15 Plus indicates that legal restrictions apply, and the material is not suitable for those under 15. R18 Plus is restricted to 18 years and above. You can also find useful consumer advice next to the classification. Look out for these symbols on games, DVDs, advertising posters and movies. Please use these classifications to help you choose with confidence.
If you were living on the streets, wouldn't you want more than just your best friend to keep you safe and warm? Donate to Backpack Bed for Homeless and give warm, waterproof protection and dignity tonight. Call 1300 OzHelp.
Are you playing renovation roulette? I'm John Jarrett.
Now I know that deadly asbestos lies hidden in 1/3 of Aussie homes.
It can be found in any home built or renovated before 1987.
Lurking in walls, under floor covering, behind tiles, in roofing. Asbestos, it was used everywhere.
So if you're a renovator or a tradie, you could be risking your life and the lives of others.
Remember, go slow. Asbestos, it's a no-go. Visit asbestosawareness.com.au to learn what you need to know.
Coming up next on MELfeed.video.
15 fabulous minutes every week
On MELfeed.video.
Meet the famous, the fortunate and the fashionable as Steve and Jacqueline take you to all the events around town. Not to be missed, it's the most fabulous 15 minutes you'll ever see.
This is about the place I went to uni, unfortunately. It's called Wagga Wagga. You. Grey brown, dust and mud, too hot then too cold. Slack-jawed yokels, bleak-eyed, fist-red faces, tight, pinched, suspicious old women, rude, whiny kids beg in the street for cigarettes, pregnant 16-year-olds pushing prams through shopping centre chain stores, RAF-based boys on leave, crew cuts, thick necks march the streets in unison, even out of uniform. Welcome to Australia's biggest inland city. Pub on every corner, Jimmy Barnes on the jukebox for the third time tonight. Piss your pay away on the pokies, pick a fight with your mates, spew in the street. Rural, suburbia, Main Street drag, hoodlum, bully boy, yobs, homies in the wrong hemisphere yell freak, slut, faggot from cars pumping stereos going round in circles, going nowhere, you'll always be here. Wearing Nike or Adidas stripes, animals roam in packs, fuck in the car park outside Macca's. Nowhere to go, nothing to do here, work for the dole or work in an abattoir, no place for a university. Agricultural students, Aggies, Ugg boot thugs, beer kegs, bongs and dogs. Silly as bumper stickers, come and root for the bush pigs, silly as sheep in football jumpers. You run everything, you ruin everything. Bash hippies, we build a blockade at the gates, you tried to run us down in your utes. We burn an effigy of the education minister, but all you do is stand and stare. Makes me wonder why I bother, but don't want to go down that dirt road. Be like you with your apathy, brain dead, dead shit for brains. This is my country.
Normally I'm used to performing only at music venues, actually. I don't normally go to poetry things. So I normally start with this. Why do you tell me you are straight when your tongue is in my mouth? Why the fuck do you have to wait until my hand is moving south? Why do you tell me you are straight when my fist is trapped inside you? My hand is stuck behind your pelvis and not a whole fucking lot I can do. It does get attention, that one.
Intracerebral prevarications. Round and round the battle goes within my cluttered mind, hoping that an answer to life's questions I will find. But alas, it makes my head sore. This world I cannot mend. I vow to stop, but soon this lot is going round again. What do you think would happen if we invented a machine that connected all our brains and summed our intellectual steam? Would there be great revelations, inventions and solutions, or would it be the worst example yet of intellectual pollution? Our minds' perfusions and diffusions might lead merely to illusions, though in turn this might be crucial if we're to see them as intrusions. Perhaps we need only to glimpse the bounds of human reason, then to deny this to another soul becomes existential treason. After long exhausting bouts of cerebral tug-of-war, I find myself back at a place I know I've been before. Perhaps a little further forward, where a stillness seems to say that amongst the thoughts there has to be a far less painful way. So perhaps the bloke who wrote this crap, with all its fancy words, needs to figure out that he's the one who sounds the most absurd. Perhaps he needs naught but humility, enough to see his own mistake, then to just chill out, shut his mouth, and let the silence permeate.
Hi and welcome back to our motel room live in Echuca, where we're just visiting tonight, but we are in the throes of getting used to our new hometown as we prepare to move here permanently later towards the end of this month. Coming up next is 15 Fabulous Minutes, where Jacqueline and Steve take us to the Getaway Travel Expo, which was held around about 1999-2000. And then on the CEC Report tonight, we have information about the Glass-Steagall Act, which was introduced to Australian Parliament by Bob Katter. So you'll get to see his speech in Parliament about that tonight. So that is an interesting episode of the CEC Report. And then on Transport's A Distant Delight, we've got tramways and various places in a video slideshow for about 15 minutes at the end of tonight. And then we'll see you next week. So see you then.
You're there when they can't sleep. You're there when they forget. But who's there when they're at school? Asthma can be serious. It affects 1 in 10 Australians and claims 400 lives each year. Does anyone at your school know what to do in an asthma emergency? Log on to asthmafriendlyschools.org.au and find out if your school is asthma friendly. Shouldn't every school be asthma friendly?
To every child's development, an important message from the Australian Toy Association.
Each week on MELfeed.video, join us for Northern Access Television's general interest chat show, NAT Chat. Each episode features interesting and informative interviews from people of all walks of life. Weekly topics include community groups, religious topics and professional people covering many different subject areas. That's NAT Chat every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. here on MELfeed.video. Live streamed from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
And I'm Steve.
And welcome to another fabulous 15 minutes. And we're here at the Getaway Travel Expo.
That's right. We're going to take you on a journey from plane to train.
And ideally win one ourselves.
Yes. So keep watching. Getaway.
Discover Hong Kong, the city of life.
Come to sensational Singapore for the new millennium. We're really celebrating in a big way.
Il y a de nombreuses raisons pour que vous veniez en France. La France est un pays magnifique avec beaucoup de variétés. I'd just say that there are plenty of reasons to visit France.
Benvenuti in Italia e divertitevi con il fantastico cibo italiano.
I'm here with Storrel from the Getaway Show, and you've been talking ad nauseum all afternoon, giving lots of advice about what to do and where to go.
All the hot tips. More what to do, not what you shouldn't do.
Okay. What have you found?
Just about anything.
For example, what sort of advice have you been giving this afternoon?
Oh, just go for it. Just follow your dreams. If you really want to go somewhere, you should just pursue it at all costs. And you know, a lot of people ask, oh, you know what, is it safe enough here to travel? Everywhere has its downside, that's for sure. You know, Australia doesn't always come across as being that safe. If you were a tourist down in Port Arthur a few years ago, you'd know about that, wouldn't you?
So we had some of those backpacking problems as well, people getting hitchhiking.
Yeah, exactly. And I've spent most of my life, I'm not going to say how many years because I'll give away my age, But I've spent a great deal of my life travelling on my own too. And as a single woman, if you pick the right country that's responsive to women travelling on their own, you're laughing. Otherwise, it's easy enough just to team up with other people that you meet on the road.
I was about to say that I've been travelling on my own, and that's the best way to meet the best people.
It is. It's fantastic. And a woman is I don't think vulnerable. I think you're far more approachable. People sort of see you and they go, oh, I wonder what she's doing on her own. And they welcome you into their homes and into their lives, and it's a beautiful way to travel. For sure.
Now, you've been to 101 places around the world, but more than that. What's the next big destination for you that you're really looking forward to seeing?
The Arctic. Yeah, I've been south, so I'm heading north this next year. Play with the polar bears, do a bit of sea kayaking. Yep, it should be beautiful.
So what about for the 20th century, for the millennium? Where's the place to be? Where are you recommending everybody go?
Okay, the place to be for the new millennium, definitely South America. It's going to go off.
Train is one way to travel. I'm just looking. White line, white line, white line, white line. I don't see any cows yet, but I'm hoping I'm going to see one. Tree. Car. Cow. It's got to be a cow somewhere. Oh, there she is. Jacqueline, what are you up to?
I'm with Mondana, and I'm whispering for a very good reason. There's a bit of a very, very serious mystic palm reading going on just to my right. And we actually interrupted and upset the guru. So we're going to forge ahead, and I'm about to get a henna tattoo happening. Here we go. How are you?
Thank you.
Now, exactly what is henna made of?
It's a plant leaf powder. Yeah.
And how long does it last? Like, it's obviously not poisonous.
No, it lasts for 7 to 10 days and gradually fades. Yep.
It lasts for how long?
7 to 10 days.
Oh, right. I thought you said years. Okay, well, in that case, go ahead. So you're going to do a bit of a henna tattoo for me today? And what sort of designs can you choose from?
You choose any design and any part of body. Yep.
Okay, we'll just stick something safe. I won't go for my face, maybe my hand. And what design do you think you're going to choose for me today?
Flower.
And what does that signify?
Just happiness. Yep.
There you go.
A nice auspicious and good luck.
Fantastic. Can't have enough of that then, can you?
With David here. Now, you've travelled pretty extensively over the couple of years. What do you recommend for jet lag?
Alcohol.
Alcohol, that's the trick?
Everyone will tell you that to avoid jet lag, don't drink on the plane. You're going to get jet lag anyway, so you may as well have fun on the plane and have a few drinks. I've never been able to get over it, so it's weird. This year I've been to Europe twice. The first time I came back, I had jet lag for about 10 days. I was waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep. The second time I came back, I didn't have jet lag at all. So it's just bizarre. It's random, I think.
Now, how hard is it to travel constantly?
Initially, it was quite difficult. But now I've been doing it for about 5 years. I'm quite used to it. So
we're modest, old pro, 5 years down there. Said every country. What would you recommend as one of the favourites?
Well, my favourite place is London. I love big cities because there's so much to do. You know, you're just surrounded by activities. But each destination is different for different reasons. If you want to go and lie on the beach, you know, there are great beaches. But Australia's the best place. Every time I come home from...
No place like home?
That's right. Every time I come home from anywhere, I'm always reminded that nowhere is as good as Australia.
Have you ever had a culture shock?
Yeah, I often get culture shock in third world countries. Often wonder how these countries survive. You know, with raw open sewage and no money and poverty, it's just...
So how hard is that? Like, you've come to a country, you've just had the biggest culture shock. What am I doing here? And you've got to just perform on camera and go, we're having a great time here.
Well, I try to be as honest as possible. The thing about those kind of countries is it's always interesting to see the culture. and also for travellers from Australia, it's always cheap. So that's the angle, you know, that's the thing.
I'm here with Sarah, and Sarah has come to the Getaway Travel Expo for some answers. And I'm just wondering, with the literature you've got there, whether you've actually got answers or whether you're completely confused.
Yeah, I think I'm probably more confused than anything because there's so many different places I'd like to go and it's just too hard to make a decision.
And so what are the options for you today?
Well, I'm looking maybe South America, maybe somewhere in Indonesia. I'd like Africa, basically places you can do something active.
Fantastic. So a Kentucky tour is really not up your alley then?
No, I'd like to rather get out there and do something myself, travel around, hike, swim, snorkel, dive, whatever.
There's a limit of 5. If you're looking for a great holiday, then I think Croatia would be a fantastic destination, but you certainly wouldn't want to be hanging around your hotel room looking for a bit of entertainment.
Welcome to Croatia. We're waiting for you.
Here I am in Turkey, and I've got my Turkish delight here, Nesna. What's the attraction of Turkey?
Attraction of Turkey is its history, Anzacs naturally, and just the cuisine, but generally it's history. That's what a lot of people come for, because we have 10,000 years of history.
What about the Turkish belly dancers?
Yeah, that as well. We do have a lot of nights where people want to see that, but generally it's history that people come for.
In tropical North Queensland, there's lots of things to do in tropical North Queensland.
There is.
One of them, favourite pastime, is basically golfing. Your great golf courses with the old cane toad and a bit of a jab hand. And what else can you do in tropical North Queensland?
Yeah, you can go out to the Great Barrier Reef, and you can do that in different forms. You can go out there and do a day, or you can do 5 days. You can stay out there. You can go up to Lizard Island, which is further out, or near the islands.
And they always make sure you come back?
They always make sure you come back.
Yuck! These wild animals, I tell you, no wonder they're in the bush.
All happening here, and definitely Wet n Wild is the place to be. What are we seeing in here, Mark?
Oh, Wet n Wild Water World. It's the greatest theme park. In fact, it's one of 3 greatest theme parks, Movie World and Sea World as well.
And how wet and how wild can you get?
Oh, look, it's almost crazier than this here now. Can you believe it? It's crazy.
It's just going out of control.
They're everywhere, and everywhere over Europe. Probably the most cheapest alternative to accommodation. What does it stand for?
Budget accommodation, good standards. You can meet people from around the world.
So, Youth Hostel Association is there a country that there isn't one?
Well, we've got them in 60 countries, so there are some that we haven't got hostels in, but we've got the world pretty much covered. There are 2,500 in Europe, so we've got Europe pretty much covered. We've also got them Asia, South America. There's 150 in Australia.
We did think they were extinct, but no, we have spotted a Tassie tiger. And I thought you had all died. That's a no. Your coat's looking a bit hard to wear. Have you got the famous spots? Turn around. Yes, as you see, the Tassie stripes. What happens when you pull the tail? Do you bite? Oh dear.
Here at the Getaway Travel Expo, looking for things to do for the millennium. I know exactly what I'm going to be wearing. I'm going to treat, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get high. I'm going to go ballooning.
What do you think? Dave thinks a good idea? Talk to me, Steve. Talk to me. What do you think? You going to go? Can you come with me? Get the bucket? Go on.
Crocodile Dundee in the wild, and this is the way you wrestle the crocodile, and you get them down, and you've got to tangle them in the wire.
So you're leaving the Getaway Travel Expo?
Yes, almost. Oh, we had a great time. Fantastic.
Did you enjoy your trip?
Lovely. We've been all around, so it's really worthwhile seeing. It's good.
Welcome to the Getaway Bus. The wheels of the bus go round and round.
That was the Getaway a travel show here at the exhibition buildings, and it was a fantastic event. We whizzed around all day. I'm pretty bush. What about you, Steve?
I'm ready for a big nap.
And we haven't exactly got 5-star location, accommodation. A bit of a happening tent, though, I'd say.
Yes, looks like rain, so we better get on the cover. Catch you guys next time on Fabulous
15 Minutes. Night.
And I'm Steve. And we're the Teen on Blondes.
And we're talking pets.
Doggy. I wonder who the owner is. A bit tragic. We're on Active Ackland Street. Thank you very much. You probably actually recognise that because you've done it yourself. That's about the 100th we've had today. I'm quite full. I don't think I could fit another one in. Nevertheless, we're here talking pets. That's right. We're talking about whether people's pets are absolutely representative of the qualities of their own. So stay tuned.
Got another pet owner. What kind of pet is yours?
Chihuahua.
It's more like a lap pet, isn't it, really?
More like a cat, actually. He sits on your lap that much.
Now, why did you choose this animal?
Well, actually, we had him given to us. We used to have a small Jack Russell Terrier cross, and he got run over. And we were pretty upset about it. And I said, never have another dog. And some people up the road, they were given this dog, and they already had a dog, and they said they couldn't keep it. They were going to take it to the pound. And I said, that dog's not going to the pound. And we got him when he was only just about a handful. And we've had him for 2.5 years.
Yeah, I think he's still a little handful there. So he's adopted you pretty well then, I take it.
Oh, yeah, he's adopted us, and we've adopted him, actually. I think he's wouldn't be without him now.
Is it a low-maintenance sort of dog?
Yeah, very low maintenance. He doesn't eat a lot. Well, by his size, you can tell he wouldn't eat a lot.
Oh, I don't think he's going to grow much further, do you?
No, he's fully grown at the moment. Yeah, now.
So how old is he?
He's about 3-year-old.
Only 3 years? Oh, okay. And do you think the owners reflect off their pets, really?
Oh, I think so, yes, definitely.
For example?
Well, he runs the house at the moment. Like, you can't get out in the car without him coming. He's standing at the front door. You only mention the car, and he's standing at the front door waiting.
So the dog knows.
Yeah, so the question of the day is whether you believe your dog is reflective of the qualities of the owner. So in your case, who have we got here?
Rocky.
Rocky.
Yeah.
Okay. And why'd you call this dog Rocky?
Bit of Rocky Mountains.
Yeah?
Yeah. Plus he's never seen the snow, so have to call him something.
Is he a bit of the outdoors type?
Yeah, hates the water. Can't stand the water. I love the water. He hates it.
So maybe your dog's your alter ego?
I don't know, he can be snappy. I suppose I can be snappy too.
Is that right? Moody.
Moody,
Moody.
I suppose he's moody, yeah. He can get moody.
Any other qualities your dog's got you think that are reflective of yours? Like, how can you connect with your dog?
With girls. It's a big pickup thing.
A red-blooded male, there you go. So your dog's a bit of a stud.
Oh, he's a bit of a stud, yeah, you can say that.
A people person.
Yeah, that's it. I think I'm a people person too, yeah.
Definitely.
But I don't know, he attracts attention, so...
Stands out in the crowd.
Yeah, makes people feel good, I suppose, yeah. And everyone gets happy when they're around him.
I found a stray pet. So whereabouts is your owner? Do you have an owner?
I'm my owner. No, I'm feral, so I don't have an owner.
So what are you doing running around the streets?
I'm looking for people and I'm scratching them.
So you're after an owner?
Yeah, that's right. After an owner. With a lot of money.
So what does a feral animal like you look for in an owner?
Somebody, yeah, who takes care of me and has a lot of food that I can eat and has a lot of money to give me in my pocket.
So more of a sugar daddy kind of guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. We'll look after this feral animal. Well, here's the first step to having a bare necessity of a little animal.
Don't scare the dog. I'm here in Ackland Street with Henry, and Henry doesn't have a pet with him. No dog?
I've got a pet, my wife, yeah.
Oh, you've got a pet, that's your wife. But you don't have a pet dog?
No ways.
You don't seem to like pets much?
No. That costs too much to keep.
Yep.
And they're a bloody nuisance. They crap all over the yards and on the sidewalks, and people tell them to pick up a poo and they don't, and you've got to walk in it, and oh no. And the cats, you go into a house with people with cats, it stinks.
Hair everywhere.
Oh God, no. And then the poor cat gets sick, they got to go to the vet, it costs them $100. I reckon they'd buy me.
So you reckon your wife's cheaper to keep?
Oh, yes, and she supplies a lot. Supplies my food and all my pleasures. So what do you want bloody pets for?
You've got a maid. Have you got children?
I've got children.
They're a bit of a pain. They're a bit messy and a bit expensive though, aren't they?
What, children?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's why I won't have any more.
Here we are with another pet owner. And what's the name of your dog?
Holly.
And why did you call it Holly?
Holly was part of her kennel name, and it was Hollyhock, so we just took off the end of it and called her Holly.
So what made you choose this dog?
Well, we chose it for Jason because he's always wanted a dog, but we didn't want just a little tiny dog that didn't have any personality, so we decided we'd go down to the showgrounds and have a look at all the different breeds, and these were the most playful and loving, and that's why we chose it.
So do you think dogs are reflective of their owners then?
I think so.
So you're kind of a playful, kind of wild child then?
I think so, yeah. She's a real nutcase at times, and I think, that's a bit like all of us in our family at the minute.
That sort of says something about this kind of family. I can see. What sort of things do you do with dog?
Well, we're trying to socialise her at the minute, you see, get her used to everybody, because she's only 8 months old. And this is one of the things we do because there's lots of people down here, and we thought, well, we'd get her used to people. We take her to the park and let her run. And
how do you get this one still? There we go. Oh, it's shaking my paw.
I think you're a crazy dog. You're a crazy dog. You're a very, very crazy dog. And I think it's giving me a bath.
That'd be the first one, Steve.
Oh, you're like licking my ear, Dave.
You might be asking yourselves, what pets do Steve and Jacqueline have? Well, speaking for myself, I have a pet fish on my desk at work, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's goldfish, and it's called Sushi, and I've had it for 6 months now, and I'm hoping that it won't end up as some of these fish have. Tell you what though, some days I get quite famished whilst I'm at work, and I tell you what, a little bit of a saute in a fry pan, a little bit of olive oil, a bit of parsley, yummo.
Well, my favourite pet is my pet rock, because basically you get your rocks off, it's raw, it's uncut, and it's a great pet to have. It's dark or blonde, cool and handsome.
Bit of a scoop going down here in Ackland Street, not a pooper scoop, just a scoop, with regard to the Monash University students being expelled. And we have a protest group here, working wonders down here. But the question on our lips is pets, and whether you believe that the qualities of the owner is actually reflective in the pet that's chosen. Do you think that's the case? Do you have a pet yourself? What sort of pet have you got? I'd say that's a dog. Is that correct? We're behind you, behind you, behind you, behind you. You got to wonder about the intellect of the owner of that dog, don't you? It's got a very attractive butt, this dog. I'll give it a 10.
Playboy pets. Navanka.
I'm salivating at the moment here in front of these hordes and hordes of gorgeous cakes. They say that pets are reflective of the qualities of their owners. Well, I think it's the same for cakes. And I think for me, it would definitely be the fruit tart, the strawberry tart, any tart probably. Hazelnut tart, coconut tart, pecan tart. You thought I was all tarted out, custard tart.
He's a party animal, and he loves to play. And my husband says he drinks like me, which is very loud. But he dangles his chain in the water bowl, and I don't do that. So yeah.
You don't dangle anything?
Oh well, I try not to. And what he did have to dangle is no longer there, so I'm very sorry.
So do you think if your dog was not a social animal, you wouldn't have a lot of, you wouldn't be able to sort of relate to your dog at all?
It would be really, it would be really hard because if you didn't like to do the things
we were considering a Scotty dog, and we read that they were quite aloof and kept to themselves quite a lot, and we just wanted something that was a bit more gregarious.
Not a snob.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And that's it for us. You've been watching the Two Non-Blondes.
And we've been talking pets, personalities and their owners.
Ruff, ruff.
Ow.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The three major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help. Join a Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do, 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global, acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable.
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much more.
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say, "G'day, you got a friend."
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it. It's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard, but the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. You know, I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
More members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
Each week, MELfeed.video presents the CEC Report. The Citizens Electoral Council of Australia presents a weekly program of political and economic analysis with policy solutions which are aimed at saving Australia from economic collapse, and also suggest ways in which interested members of the public can assist in their campaigns. The CEC Report, coming up next on MELfeed.video. Live stream from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Welcome to the CEC Report for the 29th of June. I'm Elisa Barwick, and joining me today is CEC researcher Robert Barwick. Welcome, Robert.
Thanks, Elisa.
And on today's show, People 1, Banks 0, Glass-Steagall solution introduced in Australian Parliament, and foreign interference laws are a fascist fraud. So firstly, People 1, Banks 0, Glass-Steagall solution introduced in Australian Parliament.
We did it.
Yes, on Monday the 25th of June, Bob Katter, the member for Kennedy, introduced our Glass-Steagall legislation on the floor of the House of Representatives. This separates, of course, banks with deposits from those with risky speculation. Now, this was a historic moment for this country. Therefore, we're going to play in full Bob's speech at the second reading.
And I call the clerk.
Private members' business, notice number 2, Banking System Reform, Separation of Banks Bill 2018.
And I call the member for Kennedy.
I present the Banking System Reform, Separation of Banks Bill 2018 and the explanatory memorandum.
Members leaving the chamber could do so as quickly as they can. The clerk.
First reading, a bill for an act to re-establish confidence in the banking system, to separate retail commercial banking activities involving the holding of deposits from wholesale and investment banking involving risky activities and for other purposes.
The member for Kennedy.
I move this bill be now read a second time.
The member for Kennedy may proceed. Yes.
Second.
Yeah.
The great upheavals in the Western democracies, the so-called free economies, which are really mixed economies, occurred, the greatest one being 1929, the Great Depression. I think to understand what has taken place, you must read John Kenneth Galbraith's The Great Crash. Very erudite, very readable. You must read The Bold Riders, which the crashes of the 1980s, the late 1980s in Australia, the Laurie Connells, the Alan Bonds, the dreadful crash that occurred in Australia then, Trevor Sykes' The Bold Riders, and you must read, of course, the Big Short, the American book that came out after the GFC collapse. Speaker, having said that, the Great Depression was immediately addressed by the Congress of the United States with the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933. The Depression hit right at the end of 1929, effectively started in 1930, and within 3 years they had drafted legislation to ensure that this would not occur again. And in that magnificent, small but magnificent work of Galbraith's, he quotes the congressional hearings. And I don't know the names of all the companies, Mr. Speaker, but they asked Goldman Sachs, they said, so you, in fact, owned a company and floated a company called, I'll call it Whitehaven, and Whitehaven, that's yes. And Whitehaven's total assets were shares in Blue Seas, yes. And Blue Sea's total assets were ownership of Silver Surf, and Silver Surf's total assets were the shares in, and it went on and on and on. And in actual fact, the only thing that any of these 19 companies owned was shares in the parent company. Right back to Goldman Sachs, who'd floated it off with about 0.00001% of their shares. So they floated off a company with a share issue in Goldman Sachs, which was of negligible value to Goldman Sachs and negligible value to the people. But what we're talking about here, that is called derivatives. When you don't buy a loaf of bread, you buy a contract to buy a loaf of bread. And that is what we call a derivative. Glass-Steagall came in and it overcame the vast bulk of those problems, so that the American economy ran fairly effectively to make it 3, 4, 5 times the size of any other economy on earth, until Mr. Bill Clinton, Mr. Free Markets, himself, even in the notorious movies about him, is addressing workers and telling them all that they'll be much better off when we free all the markets up. And you will take some pain in the shorter term. In 1999, he abolished the Glass-Steagall Act. Within 2 years, the dot-com collapse occurred. taking down trillions of dollars of the savings and superannuation and retirement monies of Americans and the rest of the world. And in 2008, we're all familiar with the GFC. Now, I mean, clearly, that timeline indicates the necessity for Glass-Steagall legislation in this place. And I must single out, by way of thanks, because it's one occasion where I did not do the hard work on the bill. Thank Anne Pleash, my Chief of Staff, but Robert Barwick, associated with a number of organisations in Australia, very articulate, very intelligent, and done some excellent work here. Wilson Sy, who's one of the great Australians, as a whistleblower, but also, you know, I don't like that term, he was a man who had the courage to say the truth when the truth was going to cost him greatly, but would be a great contribution to this nation. So we played Dr. Wilson's side very great time. And Bob Butler, who did a lot of the solid work in drafting this bill and bringing it into the Australian economy. Swan and put money into circulation the minute the GFC hit. And history books will be very, very kind to Wayne Swan as a treasurer. The opposition complained that it was given to people just to go out there and spend. Well, that's exactly what you do in a depression, to head off a depression. I mean, it was an incredibly stupid statement by the opposition at the time. Swan and Hockey guaranteed the big four banks, and that was a very good thing for both of them to do, both sides of the parliament, and I think that that needed to be done. So we headed off, and the other thing that really headed it off was the terrible evil in Australia, which is recourse lending. So if you can't make your house repayments, then the house is taken off you and sold out from under you for less than its loan value. So the bank has the debt and you become a wage slave for the rest of your life. You carry that debt and that debt accumulates interest for the rest of your life unless you take bankruptcy. So, Mr. Speaker, the situation in Australia is ugly and it is evil, and this legislation is needed to overcome those problems. And what effectively it says is, Mr. Bank, you are no longer out there in the market, the arena, buying and selling. No, your job is to loan to people that buy, sell, develop, invest. You don't do that, you judge them. And the bold writers, the Laurie Connells, the Alan Bonds, all of those people from that period, if Alan Bond in fact had been restrained by prudential bank action, he would today be a great hero because he did a lot of wonderful things. And similarly with Christopher Skase. If he'd been restrained and controlled by prudential banking, APRA is not worth two bob, but if either of them had been restrained, they left great monuments for the Australian people. One of them being which is not working today because of another bold writer, the nickel plant in Townsville. I mean, those most beautiful tourist resorts in the world. These were the things that these people created. But because they had a non-prudential banking system that allowed them to do whatever they like, they went out on splurges, which destroyed all of their good work and took millions of Australians down and destroyed their savings, their superannuation and their little bit of security that they had. Mr. Acting Speaker, I include on this note, I jumped university because everyone was making a fortune in mining, and my now wife, she invested some money in a company called Toledo. I read the prospectus and there was more copper, it was the year before decimal currency, there was more copper in my pocket than they had in all of their copper reserves of this so-called mining company. And I said, I love this share market. This is the greatest mechanism ever devised by man for a smart country boy to take money off dumb rich city boys. So I jumped university to go out in the mining boom. The crash came, and but we still bought mines into production. Mr Speaker, the housing boom in Australia today, I mean, does anyone seriously think that we are not sitting on the brink of disaster? A quarter of Australia's population, maybe a third, live in Newcastle, Sydney and Wollongong. The average price of a house is over $800,000. That means 50% of the houses are over that value. And yet the average income for an Australian after tax is about 50 grand a year. So, I mean, how are they going to make their repayments on a house? And yet they're buying houses. The banks are financing. Well, the banks make money when you go broke and they sell the house out from under you. They don't lose money. They make money out of what has occurred. They should be held responsible. Mr Speaker, I would love to be in a business that is guaranteed by the government. If I buy a corner store and I know that if I go broke, the government's going to give me the money, everyone will be buying corner stores in Australia. But they are given this, but there is no responsibility placed upon their shoulders to act in a prudential manner. And that recent economic history of Australia proves absolutely that they have never involved in that. And I conclude by a quotation from Robert Menzies: government must be involved if our economic democracy is to be preserved. I don't often quote him, but I will on this one.
The member for Kennedy's time has concluded. Is the motion seconded? The member for Denison.
Mr Speaker, I'm delighted to second the indefatigable member for Kennedy's bill and reserve my right to speak.
The question is that this bill be now read a second time. The time allotted for this debate has expired. The debate is adjourned, and the resumption of the debate will be made an order of the day for the next sitting.
So, Lisa, you can see you had the wholehearted support of Andrew Wilkie there. I got to interview Wilson Sy, who was with me, who Bob Katter kindly singled out with myself and Bob Butler for working on this bill, and this is what Wilson and I discussed in Canberra on the day.
This is Robert Darwick reporting from Parliament House in Canberra for the CEC Report, and I'm joined by Dr Wilson Sy, the former Principal Researcher of APRA. We've just witnessed Bob Katter introducing the Australian Glass-Steagall legislation to Parliament, the Banking System Reform Separation of Banks Bill 2018, which is quite historic. So now we've got the bill in play into Parliament to get it passed. Wilson, a couple of things. What are your impressions? And just for the sake of the viewer, how important is this legislation for Australia?
Well, I think the financial system is too complex for the regulators. There is no derivative regulation to speak of, with $45 or more trillion of exposure, which are not even understood.
To derivatives.
Of derivatives. Yep. I think we need a much simpler system for the sake of Australian businesses and for the sake of all the problems with the housing bubble. And I think Glass-Steagall will help in a lot of these problems that we're having.
So we're going to keep working in Parliament while we're here today, talking to more members of Parliament about this. But we only got to this point because of you, the viewer, the CEC supporters and acquaintances around Australia that have been helping with this by lobbying members of Parliament. So the bill is now in play, right? And now we've got to get support for it over the coming period, so we get it debated and we get it voted on and we don't let them delay it. So that's us signing off for the CEC report from Canberra. So there you go. It was exciting to be there. Let me just emphasise, though, it's the people who work with us out in the community that are responsible for this. Now, your work is going to be very important to actually getting it debated, etc. So keep working with the CEC. Get a copy of the latest Australian Alert Service where we elaborate on what happened this week. Call your members of Parliament now. It's not about getting the bill seconded, it's about getting it passed.
Yep, we'll be right back.
For over 80 years, the Royal Flying Doctor Service has been providing a mantle of safety across our vast land. Last year alone, they attended to more than 250,000 patients and flew over 23 million kilometres. That's the equivalent of flying to the moon and back every fortnight. Whether it's an emergency rescue, delivery of urgent medical supplies, or an air ambulance transfer to a major city hospital, the Flying Doctor is always out there for everyone. Let's keep it that way. Donations to the Royal Flying Doctor Service can be made online, by cheque or by calling the number on your screen now. All donations over $2 are tax deductible. So please give generously and help keep the doctor flying.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happened last time.
Oh, look, I can't believe they're not running in.
I'm trying.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you believe he works here with us?
But did you hear about what he did last week? Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, hang on, he's coming.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay, you got two.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, look at him. That guy's a freak. Can you believe it? He won gold in the 100. Legend.
It's easy for things to go wrong around water. More so if you can't swim.
It's great seeing kids confident in the water and enjoying themselves. An important part of keeping kids safer around water is learning to swim.
There are over 600 registered swimming schools that run the Australian Unity Learn to Swim program. To find one, go to the Swim Australia website.
Welcome back to the CEC Report, where we're discussing the tabling of our Glass-Steagall legislation in the Parliament this week. Now, Robbie, what's the significance of what Bob Cat has done here?
Lisa, it's huge. The banks are going to hate it. They do hate it. They hate it because it's going to stop them from gambling with our deposits. They also hate it because it's the government asserting its authority back over the banks and saying, here's how it's going to be done right, don't step out of line. They hate that more. And to illustrate this, I want to play a clip from the United States 3 years ago, where in the lead up to the US presidential election, a candidate who our friends over there worked with, Martin O'Malley, who didn't end up going anywhere, but he launched his campaign by taking on Wall Street and announcing Glass-Steagall, right? And for doing that, he got called Wall Street's public enemy #1. And I want you to see this clip to have a look at it.
You can't even risk going the Democratic route. Well, that's something Charlie Gasparino has been picking up from a lot of the bankers, brokers he talks to, especially when they hear not Hillary Clinton, but this other guy, O'Malley. Charlie now in New York on this, I guess, doubling down on batting down the classes, right?
Well, I just want to say I have my Rick Perry glasses on, and I actually, he inspired me as a fashion choice. So just the governor won me over on that.
That's just a total snide aside, but I admire it. But go ahead.
Listen, Martin O'Malley is now, like, I would say, persona non grata, public enemy #1 in the halls of Goldman Sachs, in the halls of BlackRock, the big money management firm. All throughout Wall Street right now. I mean, what he said Saturday, and Fox News picked it up, he basically borrowed a page from one of the columns I wrote about how Wall Street is fine with either Hillary Clinton or Jeb Bush. They think both of those candidates would be very well for their bottom line. He picked that up in a way that the Wall Street was not expecting and ran with it, put it in his speech that said he was going to run for president, run for a Democratic nomination. And right now, people on Wall Street are talking about Martin O'Malley. Now, and what they're really worried about, I believe, is not that he's going to win, is that he's going to force her so far to the left with that resonating message that she doesn't do some of the things they want her to do, like water down Dodd-Frank. I mean, they really think that if she gets in there, if Hillary Clinton gets in there, Dodd-Frank will be watered down to a point where they can do proprietary trading, using their own capital to trade, which is outlawed right now. That various aspects of Dodd-Frank will be freed up so the banks can go back to making a lot of money. Not that they don't make a lot of money now, but even more money. Clinton-era money. and he's going to raise that issue with them. The question is, does he force her to do something really outrageous, like call for a breakup of the banks? I mean, I wonder if she goes that far. Anyway, that's what people are saying on Wall Street.
She might hint it, but she might not do it, you know. So we'll see. We'll see.
You got it.
So as you can see, Lisa, the issue was because this guy pushed Glass-Steagall. And what happened? Well, Hillary Clinton didn't adopt Glass-Steagall, but Bernie Sanders did, Donald Trump did. They all campaigned on it. The Democratic Party and the Republican parties both adopted it in their platform. And Wall Street was flipping out, and they've been flipping out ever since. Trump hasn't come back to Glass-Steagall, but this is one of the reasons he's been very distracted by the Russiagate stuff, etc. Right? But what it did, it set in train all these things that Wall Street did fear. Now, over a couple of days ago, a Bernie Sanders-backed candidate achieved an upset in the primaries in New York against an establishment Democrat, and she campaigned for Glass-Steagall to do it. Glass-Steagall is now out of the box worldwide, and what Bob Cat has done here is not just significant for Australia. The banks around the world are going, oh my God, this is what we fear. And as you know, like banks in Wall Street, in London were going, oh no, this might lead to people talking about breaking us up here, right? So that's the significance of what it's done, and that's why if we push it here, it's going to have global ramifications.
Yep. Now we have to take a quick break, but we'll be back to discuss the foreign interference laws that have just passed in Australia after this.
Playing the 80s on Air FM 88.0.
Hi, this is Darren McAlane from Air FM Drive. Join me from 3 to 6 p.m. every afternoon on 88.0 in Penrith, and also you can catch me on tunein.com. That's from 3 to 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Playing the 80s on Air FM 88.0.
I'm able to dream, I'm able to smile, I'm able to grow, and I'll go the extra mile, one day at a time. So put your hands together, we can change lives forever. Together, we're able.
Able Australia. Together, we're able.
Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy.
Welcome back to the CEC Report. Now we're discussing foreign interference laws are a fascist fraud. So last night the foreign interference bill package passed the Senate, and this
rammed through, Elisa.
Yeah, they rushed it through, of course, before these by-elections coming up. It's supposed to stop foreign interference into our pristine politics and espionage. Of course, the background is that our dangerous Anglo-American allies, so called by former PM Malcolm Fraser, the US and the UK, have told us we are to fear China and Russia. The great power rivalry with these countries is the major threat.
Foreign powers are trying to influence us to fear other foreign powers.
Exactly. Now, these laws have been directed, as we've said, by the Five Eyes spying alliance, the UK, US, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. And this was admitted in a Financial Times article of the 27th of June. Australia leads Five Eyes charge against foreign interference. Now, these matters were raised in a brilliant way by Andrew Wilkie in a speech on the floor of the House of Reps on the 26th of June, which we'll watch now.
Deputy Speaker, it goes without saying that the security of our nation and maintaining that security is clearly one of the most important roles for government, and doing so as a general principle has my full support. But when it comes to the achievement of our national security, no government whatsoever has any right to ever be misleading or hypocritical. No government has any right to misuse national security in the lead up to by-elections or an election. No government has the right to take us down the road to being a police state. And I regret to say, Deputy Speaker, that there's more than a whiff of all of those concerns in these bills that we are debating here in this place today and which we will shortly vote on. Yes, we do need legislative reform to counter foreign interference and foreign espionage in our country. But the way we do it has to be ever so carefully crafted, and crafted in a way that safeguards the liberties that we hold so dear. And these bills today do not achieve that standard, and I won't support them. Indeed, I think the way they are currently presented to the Parliament, Deputy Speaker, is disappointing, and they are bad bills. I think that the fundamental deficiency in both of the bills today is in the broad definition of national security and foreign influence. Clearly, it is way too, or they are way too broad a definition, and they should have been remedied before the bill came to the House. When you look at the context, when you look at the bills we are dealing with today, and you look at the deficiencies of them, I will go so far as to say, Deputy Speaker, that Australia is in a pre-police state. We have passed far too many security laws, and far too many of them have been unnecessary. Our independent media is slowly being diminished with reductions in their funding. Papers being checked at airports with no good cause. The right to protest in these bills effectively diminished. The fact that any protest, as I said earlier, any protest such as protesting against the Adani mine, if the government wants to say it's a threat to our economic national security, then you can be accused of committing an act of espionage and be charged under these bills.
So, Elisa, what Andrew Wilkie is saying there, look, these laws are getting out of control, basically. And yesterday, to prove that point, the government arrested an ASIS whistleblower who blew the whistle on bad behaviour by the Australian government. He's now being charged for revealing what we're actually up to. And these kind of laws allow that kind of thing to happen.
That's right. So that's all we've got time for this week. Call us for a copy of the Australian Alert Service. And if you're in Western Australia, don't forget to support the campaign of Barry Mason in the upcoming by-election. Thanks for tuning in.
One in 5 of us are affected.
10% of us will have at least one.
And the numbers double for Indigenous Australians.
Just as quick as a click of your fingers, it can happen to anyone at any time.
What would you do if someone close to you was having a seizure?
Imagine if it was your child.
My brother has it. My sister has it.
I have it.
I have it too.
You're not alone.
You're not different.
And you have a bright future ahead of you.
So click for kids!
I'm Amy Lee, and I'm part of it.
My name is Logan. I'm 12 years old and I have Duchenne muscular dystrophy. My muscles are degenerating and I was put into a wheelchair 2 years ago. Soon I won't be able to move at all. The majority of people affected will not live past their 20s, including me. So we need your support to improve our quality of life until a cure is found.
Live streamed from Melbourne each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
National Park passengers, please. National Park passengers.
Jump on that one.
Fare, please. Tickets, please. Fare, please. Tickets, please. Yellow one.
Okay, Sarah, I'm going to order some pathology tests to see how everything's going.
Half the Australian population had a pathology test last year. That's you or someone you love. 100 tests are performed every minute, delivering vital medical information. From the moment you are born, your healthcare depends on pathology tests. 70% of medical decisions rely on information from pathology tests. Pathology is the engine room of healthcare. One small sample can reveal millions of insights all about you. Pathologists are your doctor's doctor. 25,000 people work to provide doctors with the answers they need to treat you. Australian pathology is world class. We may never meet you, but we see each of you as part of our family. Every minute, 23 Australians find out more about their health.
Good news, Sarah. The results show that everything's okay.
Pathology provides peace of mind.
I rely on Australian pathology.
Sign up online to support Australian pathology.
Australian women need to kiss more. Watch out for persistent and unusual symptoms, as they could be a sign of ovarian cancer. Know the important signs and symptoms. Kiss. Look out for symptoms like abdominal or back pain, difficulty eating or feeling full quickly, or persistent bloating, or a change in toilet habits. If you're experiencing persistent and unusual symptoms for more than 14 days, see a GP. Make sure you kiss regularly.
There's a difference between forgetting something once and forgetting it many times. There's a difference between forgetfulness and dementia. Talk to someone who understands. Call the National Dementia Helpline on 1800 100 500.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash, maybe even from heart disease, maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed Video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Wednesday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You are welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us at MELfeed Video, we wish you a very good night.